What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of In The Crosshairs, your definitive source for sports betting content and in-game analysis. Coming to you live from inside the Line Sniper studio, I'm your host, Ali Melendez, here to take you guys through our best bets of the week, expert advice, and of course, the very best in sports betting analysis. Now today, filling out our expert team of analysts, we've got the master of all the sports from pro ball to professional eating. It is Mr. Andy Molitor here to give us his preview of the NFL season. Of course, we've got America's sweetheart, Joey Knish. He has some insight on what's going on in the NBA playoffs and an update on his bets and who he sees walking out of Disney World as a champion. And no, it's not Mickey Mouse this time. And we've got the wisest man in sports betting, Red Dave. He's going to keep us up to date with baseball and all the winners, props, and best bets in the MLB. All of that coming today on In The Crosshairs, and if there is anything else you could possibly need to bet smarter this week, you can find it on our YouTube channel, Line Sniper HQ. But let's go ahead and get this episode started, and we're going to start off with a little football and some futures, because why not? So let's send it over to Andy Molitor to take it to the gridiron for us. Andy, so excited to talk about football with you. How you doing?
I'm great. I'm into my football advent calendar. We're down to a couple weeks left. It's going to happen through everything. All the worries, it's all going to wash away when we get that first kickoff. So.
Ooh, absolutely. You bet it will. And Joey Knish has been mostly the one talking us through the NFL recently. But Andy, we just wanted to get your take on a few things, get a second opinion from, of course, Dr. Molitor himself. So Andy, let's just jump right into the first week of games, just 2 weeks away from the return of football. And Andy, let's just start off with the first week of games. Now, the reigning Chiefs face off against the Texans. We have Browns, Ravens, Dolphins versus Patriots. All of that action, plus all of the games I didn't even mention. So, Andy, give us the overview here. Who are the big winners here, and what are you keeping your eye on for the first week?
Well, as long as we play the first week, I was pretty convinced that there was a chance that things were going to go haywire. But it looks like we're good here. I've already put a couple bets in. I'm fully over all my fears. I'm looking at the new season, and I'm looking at the fact that we have no preseason. So not only is there no camp, or, you do have a little bit of camp, but the camp and preseason are kind of washed away this year. So I'm looking at a lot of road teams week one. Traditionally, if you look it up, road teams actually perform better in week one than they do throughout the normal season because you don't have the grind of the season. You're not traveling from just having a game. Preseason games, especially week 4, don't really mean anything. I think this year maybe even more. So road teams were popping right away in my numbers, and right off the bat, it's ugly dogs for me, or ugly favorites, I guess. I laid some points at the Raiders, -1.5. This is something I bet. I make this like 3.5. I don't want people to get wrong and think I like the Raiders or I'm high on the Raiders. It's just a matter of my numbers, and I hate everything about Carolina this year. I just talked about not having a preseason, not having a camp, not having the continuity of a normal season. They have a new head coach, both coordinators, new system, new quarterback. They lost the leader of their defense, and just all the numbers I have on them make them a lot worse than 1.5, even at home versus the Raiders. So I laid the points there. I might even bet them again and sell that out to 3 because that's not a great spot for them to start the season against a team that wasn't terrible on offense. They were a top 15 offense, even if people want to, dig on Gruden and his mentality out there. Not a terrible team. Carolina's awful. I'm laying the points there. And kind of the same thing with the Steelers. I've been on the Steelers bandwagon all summer. Got my terrible towel. And this is just kind of a matchup stuff thing. A lot of times you just got to look at positional groups and see how they match up. And Nate Solder opted out for the Giants. It's going to be kind of a mishmash up on the front there with the offensive line. They're going to start a rookie. He's a good rookie. He was drafted top 5, but still a rookie, possibly another rookie on both ends. The pass rush for Steelers, and you got even Bud Dupree had like 11 or 12 sacks last year. TJ Watt has 27 over the past 2 years. That's not how you want to start your NFL career as a rookie, facing those two. So the Giants' strength, I guess, Saquon Barkley, he's not going to help you much when you're down 14. That's another one. I make that like 5.5. I play that up to like a touchdown. I think that's a silly line. So I've already made a couple bets for week one, and I'm raring to go.
I'm sorry, I just got to take it back to when you said awful year for Carolina. That's got to be a quote we'll definitely see there. But I know it's still a bit out. Andy, are there any Super Bowl winner bets that you've seen that you like, or maybe any MVP props with crazy lines to make some money on? We got to know all that good stuff. Tell me your thoughts.
Yeah, a lot of my MVP stuff is it's such a gross narrative based like bet. You got to find a team that's going to be good as a something that the media can run with. We saw what we had last year in Baltimore, and I ended up just going with some longer positions from teams that I rate a lot higher than the market. I got better early numbers. I think I got 50-1 on both of these guys, but even 30s to 40s. Jimmy Garoppolo and Big Ben Roethlisberger. Big Ben's a little bit of it. I guess they're both injury risks, but these are two teams that I just can't figure out how they're not going to be good. These are long numbers. If we see any injuries from the chalk in KC, Baltimore, or whoever else you want to put near the top, I'm willing to take a long number on a quarterback because it's become a quarterback award on a team that I think can make it deep into the playoffs and build that narrative, have a good season. I just can't. Normally, I'm a big fade the team that lost in the Super Bowl guy. I just can't find a way to fade San Francisco this year, and I've been high on Steelers so much. Big Ben 50-1. He drops like 5,000 on the season here, and easy money.
Yeah, I mean, both pretty Jimmy G and Big Ben have pretty nice odds right now. But of course, anytime you place an MVP bet, you do have to worry about that team doing like anything good in the season.
Yeah.
And since the NFL season is still 2 weeks out, I wanted to actually get your advice here a little bit about something. So a week or two or so back, I think it was like 2 weeks back, Joey Knish gave us the advice of keeping most of your bankroll for your week-to-week bets, and of course sort of putting futures on the back burner until we get a clearer picture of how smoothly this season starts off. So Andy, let's get your thoughts on this. Are you playing futures normally? Are you taking a more cautious approach overall? How are you changing your betting strategy for this upcoming NFL season?
Gosh, I don't know if I want to say anything nice about Joey's advice because I already screwed it all up. I placed my first future bets the day after the Super Bowl. So I guess we kind of had an idea there was something going on, but obviously we didn't have full pandemic quite yet. So I was already pot committed at that point. I played some regular season win totals and some futures in like February. So I guess I was SOL on that if I wanted to take it easy. But I mean, he's right. And that is how I played as well. You don't want to be going big on these futures. A lot of it, you're just looking for some value. If you see like that, I said, I bet in February. I saw some early numbers. I thought were off. They've moved. I'm happy with that. I'll be really upset if they don't play 16 games and some of that huge closing line value goes away. But yeah, don't go ham on this. And I do like to add throughout the season. I think there's definitely spots where you can do that, especially if you can take some time and maybe break down the schedule a little, look for teams to maybe add some positions for them to win their division, conference, Super Bowl, what have you, throughout the season, or even in the Rookie of the Year market. There's been times where I've added live and made some money there. So yeah, don't go nuts on that. You should be betting kind of small on that unless you have some massive edges early on.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, don't go ham, but I mean, you can prepare a little bit, right? So that's what you're going for, Andy. Yeah. But I'm sure that when it comes to sports betting, you can never be so sure, right? It's like always crazy. But Andy, thank you so much for that. Hopefully the friends at home can use that to plan out their NFL betting season a little bit better. But Andy, you are not quite done, buddy. We've got more action for you later on, and of course, your best bets of the week. But that's later. Now we take it down to basketball in the bubble and talk a little NBA. And of course, to talk about that NBA action, we have our good friend Joey Knish here to give us his opinion on those playoffs. So Joey, how you doing? You're ready to give us some hot takes like I know you are?
I'm ready to go here. We got the bubble. We got the series coming down to the wire. You got the big German mug next to you going at it. I like that that look you going. So obviously I know you're ready to go here with a little the big mug action. I should have brought mine, but hey, no, NBA tonight, full slate. We got the we got a couple of big games on tap, a couple of the series going to the wire. So no, the association has really put out a nice product since we came back. So I'm excited.
Absolutely, me too. And of course, we were so happy to have you on. But Knish, we don't have time for you to give us all the hot gossip because we've got games starting soon. So let's get into business. And of course, the 3-1 Jazz go up against the Nuggets in just about 2 hours. So we got to get our bets in quick there. And then the Tide Mavericks and Clippers face off at 9 p.m. Eastern tonight. So Knish, before the line moves at all, who you got? Who's winning tonight? Any good lines out there to make us a little cash money?
I'm going to lay with the Jazz tonight. I know it's the square side. I know there's been a little bit of market resistance. You saw it go from 3 down to 2.5, even pop 2 a few spots. There's some cheap 2.5s out there. I'm going to lay with the Jazz. They haven't shown the propensity to stop Utah in any type of offensive set where Mitchell is getting to the cup possession after possession after possession. The Jazz have shot the ball reasonably well. Again, Denver, I thought pre-series had an edge here with Connolly out, and they would go up. They didn't take enough advantage, dropped the game. Connolly's came back, played, and has really come into form. I thought, it would take him a little bit to kind of round back, but he's been back in form. Nuggets got, kind of a miracle cover on the Murray, 30-footer to end last game. I'm laying it with the Jazz tonight. I would shop around, best price out there if you can get a cheap 2.5, or even, lay a cheap money line if it's out there. But Jazz for me. Other game, not too much on the Clippers. KP's out again. I know everybody's high in the Doncic Hero game. That is going to be very tough to replicate with a team without KP really lacking front court depth. The numbers steamed up a few points. I'm leaving that one alone. So for me, just Jazz tonight, laying it with Salt Lake City.
All right, well, you heard it here, folks. Joey has the Jazz to close it out tonight against the Nuggets, and they will progress to face the winner of the Clippers versus Mavericks. Well, Knish, yesterday we saw the Houston Rockets become 2-2 in their series against the Oklahoma City Thunder, and I know you have them in your futures portfolio to win the whole thing. So, Joey, how are you feeling about that pick currently? Like, would you still pick them to take the championship, or does that 2-2 scare you a little bit?
I'd feel a lot better if it was 4-0 and they're moving on to the next round, I'll tell you that. But no, the last couple of games, they had some real troubleshooting. Game 3, last game, they just a couple, they're up 13, third quarter. They go on a bit of a shooting drought. They make some poor possessions down the stretch. I still think they're the better team than Oklahoma City. If you missed out on some series price, but before the series, I saw some minus 150, minus 155 trading around last night. That seemed steamed up to more, the minus 175, minus 177 range today. I still think the Rockets take the series. Westbrook, and again, I know I mentioned some things where they're a little bit more efficient without him on the floor, but he'll give them that extra added layer of depth if he can make it back before the end of the series. I still think they close it out without him regardless. But moving forward, you'll have that extra element of, he should be nice and rested off the leg. If he can get back to health, he gives them, that extra ball handler when Harden's not on the floor. So I'm still bullish on the Rockets. I'm not going to let 2 games here that they let, slip out of their hands, throw me off the wagon here. I think they get past OKC, still feel good about them. And the West, wide open here. Clippers are in a series. I know the Lakers have came back and kind of, been able to dominate the Blazers here, but I think the West is wide open. It's just a lot different picture than it was pre-bubble. So, hey, I'm still okay with the Rockets. I bought a little bit more on them myself series-wise last night. So, hey, I'll go down with the ship, and hopefully I'm not, playing a violin in the Rockets Titanic here coming soon. So
there you go.
Get there.
Exactly. And like you said, it's so hard to trust the process this year. Everything is just so up in the air, so different. But of course, you got to trust the big beard of James Harden. That's who we're trusting, and trust that Russell Westbrook will return. And Knish, I know you already got your Rockets bet locked in and loaded, but if you had to place a bet on a team to win the championship, based on the lines and the bracket we have today, who you taking, man?
Yeah, so I just think that the Eastern Conference sets up a little bit better for Milwaukee. We've got all the uncertainty heading out west. You've got Lakers as the chalk favorite. I think you would have to stay. I think there's a smidge of value on the Milwaukee Bucks here to get to the. I think they've got a matchup that's favorable against the Heat next round. I know the Heat are deep, but Milwaukee can kind of match them, player to player, going down 8-9 in the rotation. I don't think the Heat have the star quality. Also, you had the Jimmy Butler a little dinged up last game. I will say the Game 1 Magic Bucks has to be one of the most random results in an NBA playoff game. I think it took people a little bit off the scent of, the Bucks, they haven't played well since the bubble's back. Are they a fraud? They've come back in that series and really laid it to the Magic since then. It gets given a little bit of a touch of value on the Bucks, around plus 275 there. For the title. If there's a bet for me, I think the Bucks get it done, get to the finals this year, and would be a little bit of a small favorite in that finals. But, the futures board, it's tough right now. It's getting down to the nitty-gritty. There's not a ton of value left. Any of the long shots, the prices have dropped. So for me, if there's anything, it's picking up a touch of value on one of the chalk teams to come out of the East.
Absolutely. So even with his bet on the Rockets, guys, KNISH still likes those Bucks to go all the way. And of course, the numbers are still looking okay for that pick. So playing on both sides there. Now, who doesn't like hedging their bets a little? Know what I'm saying? All right, KNISH. So that is going to do it for the NBA. But of course, that is not going to do it for you. We'll have you on for all the questions and, of course, your best bet of the week in just a bit. So right now, it is time to turn our tables and talk about a little baseball. Now, of course, basketball is already winding down with the first round of playoffs closing up. Football hasn't even started yet, but we still have, a half a season of baseball to go. And that doesn't mean we are not going to cover everything going on this week in baseball. We've got games going on, people. And let's bring in Red Dave to run us through these games and, of course, give us the very best in MLB bets for the week. So, Red Dave, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing well, Allie, and I just looked and I saw if the playoffs started today, then the Miami Marlins would be in there. So, there's no shortage of excitement with a short MLB season. It's going to be crazy to see what happens and develops down the road.
Absolutely. Well, Dave, it's always good to have our local sports betting professor here to give us the numbers and, of course, to watch the lines. We have a lot of games and series this week, including, of course, the 15 games tonight, starting with the Phillies versus World Series champion Nationals, which is a sentence that will never feel normal to say, unless, of course, you're our director, Chris.
Woo, go Nationals.
There he is. But Dave, lots of games, as I said, to pick from here. So Yankees in action against the Braves. We've got the Cubs and Tigers, Kansas City versus St. Louis. Lots of action. Red Dave, take us through it, man. Who wins tonight?
Yeah, initially I liked the Braves last night because they were starting Toussaint, I think, who I really like as a pitcher. But they actually changed and they are starting Ian Anderson, who's a third pick overall in 2016, very high pedigree prospect, obviously making his major league debut. But unfortunately, it's going to come against the likes of Garrett Cole for the Yankees. Aaron Judge is coming back. So I didn't understand why the line moved down. The Yankees were minus 200 before. Now they're minus 180. I thought Toussaint was a better pitcher than Anderson. So I kind of like the Yankees minus 180 here, or if you want to lay the money line or the run line, minus 1.5, minus 115. Anderson's a really highly touted prospect, but he had good numbers in Double-A. His Triple-A numbers are pretty terrible, and I think maybe the nerves will catch up to him here. So I think maybe I would even prefer laying the 1.5. I think the Yankees could just absolutely get to him here. Beyond that, if it wasn't 2020, I would say play the Cardinals against Matt Harvey. But hey, I don't know why Matt Harvey is still pitching, but I really don't have any good reason to bet him, but when in doubt, take the dog, and you can get Harvey about plus 180. Hey, worst case, you can tell your grandkids you bet on Matt Harvey and won a bet, which I haven't done in like 3 years. So, and beyond that, I like the Cubs minus 125 against Detroit with Chatwood going against Spencer Turnbull. And Chatwood's just been really good this year. He's got an elite K rate, really low walk rate. It's been real solid. So I don't understand that one. But yeah, Cubs minus 125 there. Looks pretty good.
Definitely. And my New York sports, that's me. So it's definitely a shame that Yankees Mets was postponed, but hey, they need rest and I get it. And the Braves just had a pitching change. We like the boys from right here in NYC. So looking good for us, Dave. And Dave, we've got lots of games, which means lots of lines. So have you seen any substantial movement in the lines, any props that really opened up that are looking good right now or looking like a waste of money? Or do you see any must-grab prop bets that have opened up? Tell me everything going through your mind.
Yeah, this is not going to be a very popular one, but I kind of like Shane Bieber on the Indians to go under 8.5 strikeouts, about plus 110 against the Twins. Bieber was really good last year. I think he had about a 10K rate per 9, which is pretty good. But This year it's been closer to 14, and I just don't really buy into him just popping off so hard this year. He's going against the Twins, who are, number one in the division. They're a really hot-hitting team. They've got a pretty good team total, like 3.5. So I think Bieber's due for some regression. I think the Twins have a lot to play for here for divisional seeding. So I would take him under 8.5 Ks. And I think my last one is going to be Tommy Milone, which I didn't know he was still pitching, but he's on the Baltimore Orioles. I'd like to play him under 4.5 strikeouts, minus 150 against the Rays. And career-wise, this guy has not been a good strikeout. He's not been a good pitcher, period. The Orioles are like plus 200. Malone's like a 6 to 7 K through 9 pitcher. He's just not good at all. So I don't understand why this line is what it is. I would certainly take him under 4.5 strikeouts at minus 150.
All right, so Red Dave does not believe tonight. We made that joke last time you mentioned Shane Bieber. I had to do it again, but oh well. Anyway, you heard it here, guys. Watch the lines, watch your wallets, and walk away with some cash courtesy of the MLB. Well, thank you so much for that. And of course, we're going to walk away from the MLB as well because it is time to bring all of our analysts back for a little bit of round table action. All right, Red Dave, we've got Knish and Andy back joining us. And guys, like always, we have to get your best bets, and we have some fan questions for you guys to answer. But first, we've got something a little different, something a little new tonight to test out. We're going to have a little fun and play some bets, sort of test this out. And next time, maybe we'll place a little money on this action. So how about that? We'll see how we feel. Now, guys, we're betting on the races here, and we've got some names and numbers for you. We've got Oliver wearing black, Hogan in pink, Ellie in yellow, Daddy's Glory in green, Taco in blue, Mr. Friday is in light blue, and lastly, we've got Tony in red. So there you go, Fat Tony, but I didn't want to say the fat part. It's not right. It's not polite. And that is all the information I have for you guys. So let me hear your bets here. Who you taking, gentlemen? Andy, go ahead. You got first pick.
Daddy's Glory. And that screams me.
All right. Hey, I want to know the story behind that a little bit, but I'll ask you off air. Knish, go ahead and give us a name. What's your pick, man?
I'm going with the blue taco. That's what I got kind of had on the dinner plans tonight was a little bit of, taco action. I like the blue corn tortillas. This is an easy cap for me here. To get the blue taco in. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how these are racing, but either way, I've been taking Andy's money for a long time, so it's easy to go against them here. So blue taco worked for me.
Ooh, I'm so ready for Taco Tuesday too. All right, Red David, it's time for you to pick. Who you going with?
Well, I think Fat Tony might know something we don't know about this race, so I'm gonna go with that gentleman over there.
Took my pick. I was in red, and they call me Tony. All right, I'm going to go with Hogan, so put me down for that because I want to be involved betting with you guys. All right, all bets are in then, and boys, what are we betting on, you ask? Well, of course, it is Corgi races. So, gentlemen, start those dogs. Let's do it. All bets are on.
Oh shit, that's Canterbury.
There we go.
I've been to this. Yeah, this is up against. Oh man, look at that dog.
Oh my lord! And the winner is Ellie, of course, the little corgi in yellow, that little cutie.
Mine was a place bet. I figured it's cash.
Oh man, none of us went with Ellie, huh? All right, next time we're gonna have to pick winners next time. But guys, thank you so much, and of course, next time we'll put some line sniper money on these bets and win ourselves some cold hard cash. But of course, for this time, it is your reward is just gonna be some fan questions. Why not? Let's take it away. Red Dave, you got last pick of the corgi, so you're gonna get the first question. Now, I don't know if that's a consolation or not, but here we go. And if you would like your question answered on In The Crosshairs, just hit us up on our social media at LineSniperHQ, and we will answer your question on the next show. It's that simple. It's pretty cool, so send those questions. But we have a question from our friend in Maryland, Stevie. Now, Stevie's question is about the MLB and a little bit of an underdog pick. So, Dave, if you had to pick a dark horse to either take a league pennant or even World Series, who actually has a shot at all? And do you see the Nationals pulling out the wonder win again, or can somebody like the Royals run it back? What are your thoughts there?
I'm going to steer clear of the Nationals here and the Royals too. And this one for me is going to be mostly a market price. And I really like the Chicago White Sox at well, I don't love them at plus 300, but if you can find something a little bit better, go with them because they're battling out with Minnesota and Cleveland right now. It's going to be a tight one. They're about 2.5 games back. What I really like about them is they're young. They've got a lot of pops. Like I just found out today, they're number 2 in home runs as a team. So when it comes down to a live dog, I really like having some pop in your bat. They've got a pretty solid rotation, 1-2. So yeah, if they get hot and they start hitting, they got a really good lineup down 1 through 7. So yeah, if you want a little solid gamble, I would take them.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, we know that it's a strange baseball season, so I guess nothing is too far-fetched, but thank you so much, Dave. Now we're going to take it over to Andy Molitor, and for you, we have Alex from San Antonio with a straight-up question here. Do I take the Texans over or under 7.5 wins? Andy, what's your take on that?
I talked to someone about that a couple weeks ago, and we were pretty perplexed in this division. You have so much. Will Tennessee be any good? You know, the whole AFC is kind of messed up here, and they have a tough schedule. Like if I had to lean on this, I'm leaning under. Just their schedule's rough. Minnesota, Green Bay, New England, Tennessee, Indy twice, Pittsburgh, and I mean the first 4. I think the angle I landed on with the Houston Texans is if you want to bet on them to win the division, the AFC, the Super Bowl, whatever you want, but do it later because they start with a game at Kansas City. Then they had they had to host Baltimore back home, at Pittsburgh, and then face the Vikings. All teams with 3 of them were playoff teams. Pittsburgh should be a lot better this year. Brutal start for them. You don't want to bet over 7.5 and watch them start 0-4. Maybe the answer is just the under here. I would lean towards the under, but if you're looking to back them, maybe wait to get a position after they get through that stretch. It gets better.
Great. Thanks so much, Andy. And lastly, Knish, we've got one for you, bud. Miguel wanted to ask you about the Clippers-Mavericks game tonight. Do you like Paul George over or under 23.5 points?
I mean, Paul George has been playing some of the worst basketball in the entire bubble so far this day. I mean, he cannot hit a shot for the life of him. At this point, I don't think his point total can deflate any lower. So if there's going to be, this isn't trying to be a contract. I mean, maybe they try and get him going here. You're not going to have KP in the lane. He needs to start. And the only success he's had in this series is taking it to the bucket and try and get fouls, get to the free throw line. He can be a little bit more aggressive. Boban's foot speed isn't scaring anybody in there. So this is going to hurt my just simple regression on some of his shooting and the fact that he needs to be a little bit more aggressive. I would lean over. I would not bet a lot of money on that because Paul George has been, atrocious in this series. But you have to figure his shooting's got to come back a little bit. Maybe he's a little bit more aggressive, getting to the cup, getting to the line. I'd go over if I had to, but it's a plug-your-nose play.
All right, well, with Kawhi Leonard's line looking at over or under 31.5 and minus 110 on both sides, watching Paul George might be the better bet to take to actually make some money, so we'll see about that. But guys, thank you so much. Now let's wrap this show up, and with the most important and possibly my favorite segment of the day, that is our best bets. So you guys know the deal, literally any game, any sport, no matter what, even if it's corgi racing or the MLB. Of course, we want to know if it's a future or whatever. What are you guys picking this week? And of course, let's start with Mr. Andy Molitor. What do you got?
Well, Dame is out for Portland tomorrow, so Lakers by 1 trillion again. I guess lay the minus 12.5 before it gets to 14. I think the whole world's going to bet that. Maybe Lakers team total over. That they're way better with him off the court, and now they get 48 minutes of it.
Yeah, well, there you have it. Thanks so much. All right, Knish, how about you? You got anything that's guaranteed? So win us a little something, something.
I'm going to my favorite league in the world, Major League Soccer, and you guys feel that? San Jose Earthquakes shaking it up tomorrow. Here's Portland played over the weekend. San Jose did not. In the MLS, it is very difficult when you have these squads that don't have a lot of depth to play multiple games within a short time span. San Jose, a fantastic coach, team that's been on the come up for the better part of a year, played some decent soccer in the MLS bubble. I like them too. I think you'll see a lot of lineup rotation from Portland that won't be, a little bit of that's priced in already. Not all the way, though. I think you'll see this team, unless Portland decides to double up on some of their stars. But a lot of their main players are a little bit on the older side. I think they'll rest a couple. So you'll see here I'm going San Jose. Right around plus 110, plus 115 in the market right now. San Jose Earthquakes tomorrow in the late game MLS.
Boy, KNISH'S soccer. They are the two BFFs we never knew we needed. Safest bet in the world. All right. Now, Red Dave, you are up. Take us home with your absolute best bet of the week.
I don't know about best bet of the week, but one play I really like tonight in props as an NBA prop player is Jeremy Grant on the Nuggets to go over 12.5 points. I think he got in some foul trouble last game or something, but he could go like 42 minutes tonight. Mike Malone changed up the rotation. Really like him over Michael Porter Jr., so the defense might be the key tonight. So look for him over 12.5 points, maybe, I don't know, like 18, 20 points, rebounds, assists. I think he's going to get the minutes tonight. Not sexy, but trying to make money.
That's what it all comes down to, man. Well, there you have it, everyone. The 3 best bets our analysts like this week. And if you like any of those, snap them before the lines move. And, of course, win yourself some money. That's what we're here to do. Now, that is going to do it for today's edition of In the Crosshairs. And if you missed any of those bets or need to catch some of the advice you heard this week, you can find us every single time, including this episodes in the past, and all the amazing content that we have on our YouTube channel, Line Sniper HQ. We will be back on Thursday with all of the sports going on this weekend and everything you need to know to up your sports betting game. This has been In the Crosshairs, your definitive resource for sports betting content and in-game analysis. Now, for the team here in the studio, I'm Ali Melendez. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.